Something's come up in the little box, but we are on red, I think. Are we live? I don't know if we're live. What does that say up there in that little box up there? It's on red. Al, does that mean if it's on red, does that mean it's live?
You are live, yes.
Well, this is Michelle's first time, so hey, you know, so I'm going to blame her. There you are. Let's see. She's trying to work it out. Have you got it, darling? You got it?
Yes, I've got it.
Oh, look at that. And you know how to get all the questions, because that's what we're interested in. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, we are live, you see. So you know when you go live, not everything goes smoothly. So first of all, if I may, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is to my right, standing to my right side. To my far right, we have our Michelle, our new girl, Michelle. Michelle, say good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
And of course, we have Al from Colorado, who's only going to be here with us for a short time, but Al, say good morning.
Good morning from New York, actually.
Oh, right. That's right. Yes, you've traveled this week. I've forgotten about that.
Cross country, yes.
What's the weather like over there in New York City?
It is actually beautiful the past few days. Very humid here on this East Coast, but beautiful.
Well, we've been having temperatures of 110, 111. It's a little bit warm out there, but we're in the air conditioning in here, so we're having a good time, right? But it's nice, isn't it nice, Michelle, to be out in the sunshine?
I love the sunshine.
The one thing I love about Florida more than anything else is that even when it's raining, you know, it's only going to be a short period of time before the sun's out again. And I really do love that. All right. So what have I? Oh, first, before I say any more, I'm actually sitting up today, but I've been actually reclining for the last few days because I fell. I can hear all of you saying, "Oh no, oh poor me, what happened? Oh no." Well, I fell and I wrecked both my ankles and I've been in quite a lot of pain. So my students are probably wondering where I am. I haven't been in any frame of mind to talk to my students. I'm hoping today I shall be able to do that. And it's been a bit tough because usually, I mean, I'm used to wrecking my ankles. I'm used to having bad sprains and so on. My ankles are pretty weak these days because I've done it more times than I can count. However, I think this is the first time that both ankles have been wrecked at the same time. I am walking today, sort of going from one chair to the next, you know how that is. And I feel a bit like a penguin because I'm sort of walking on the sides of my feet, trying on the heels of my feet, trying not to put pressure too much. My lovely new assistant did suggest to me that maybe she could get me a walker from somewhere. And Al, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, that's not my cup of tea, but
maybe. No. So no.
But not that there's anything wrong with people who have walkers, right?
No, there's not anything wrong, and so many people do need them. And you know, I mean, I have a lovely neighbor who she could whiz about on a walker like you wouldn't believe. I mean, she was sort of more mobile with a walker than I was sometimes. No, they're great to have. It's just that I'm not quite ready to submit yet. That's because I'm stubborn and difficult and refuse to just be an old lady right now. I can't quite do that to myself. So would much rather suffer and hobble and be in pain. How ridiculous would that be? All right. So are you having issues, Michelle?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So I'm over to you now. It's your turn.
It's my turn.
So,
well, the very first thing we want to start with is Terry A, and we want to announce what we did for her son's anniversary.
Right. So, Terry, I don't know if you're listening, but we did, I think, send an email, didn't we, telling her what we were doing?
No, because I couldn't find her email.
Oh, we can't find your email. But this lovely lady was on last week asking questions. She lost her son. It was his 2-year, as she calls it, angelversary, which I really love that term. So what we did, and it's mostly down to Michelle, because as I just said to you, I was not able to walk about, but we together, not me physically, but certainly on an emotional level and on putting out my energy, my spiritual energy, she went and got some herbs and some. Would you like to tell what you did? Because you did it.
Planted some basil and some lavender.
In English terms, basil and lavender. Say it again. Basil. You say basil and lavender. And she and I were talking about lavender and how important lavender is, and how sort of what a healing plant lavender can be, and how it's such an old-fashioned plant. I've always grown it in England and never been able to grow it in Florida. But Michelle was telling me how to try to grow it. She grows them from seed. So my darling, if you're out there, we celebrated your angelversary with your son and with you, and we just thought we'd let you know that. We also had a very interesting conversation with someone talking about emotions, and this, I think, is definitely a topic for our Everything is Attitude show, Al. I don't know if you agree with me. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure we will. But do you want to read the question out? We got this through the email. Do you want to read the question out for us?
Yes. This question was from Violet, and she wants to know.
Oh no, I meant the emotion question. Sorry.
Which emotion?
Oh,
we have lots of emotion questions.
Oh, we do. I meant the one about should we suppress our emotions?
Oh, we had one that said, should we suppress our emotions? And I do not remember where it came from. No, because that's how we got to this topic of the show.
But should we suppress our emotions? And I think, if so, how do we suppress our emotions? Does it do any good for us to suppress our emotions? And we'd like to sort of have that as a little bit of the topic today. So any of you who are listening here, who yourselves through loss or through hurt or pain or what have you, tried to suppress your emotions, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd like questions on that score. But we do have a question from Violet, which sort of came in this morning first thing. So let's have that one. I'm sorry, Michelle. I'm mucking you up today, aren't I? I'm sorry.
Little bit, but it's okay.
It's my fault, completely my fault. All right, so.
The question from Violet was, are you superstitious?
Yeah, he's asking me, am I superstitious? And then we started having a conversation about, superstition. And, there are many, many, many native cultures, many ancient cultures, I should say, that have all sorts of rules and regulations and superstitions. Don't put new shoes on a table. Don't stir food with a knife because you're stirring in trouble. I'm not quite sure what the shoes things mean. Don't walk under ladders. To me, that is sort of not so much a superstition as, it sort of seems to me to be sensible. Don't walk under a ladder because the paint pot might fall on your head, or, but I have to say that although I would not say that I was superstitious, Violet, because I do stir my puppy's food sometimes with a knife. If I've just cut up some meat for him and I mix it in, I'll stir it with a knife. So I must say that I'm not particularly superstitious, but there are times when I have approaching a ladder, if I'm outside, and you're walking down the street, there's a ladder there. There are times when I think, I should go around that. Whether that's my superstitious nature kicking in, I'm not sure. There have been times, I have to say, that I've deliberately walked under a ladder thinking, I'm not going to, do that stuff. Or why should I worry about that? So does that make me superstitious? Sort of thinking I'm going to go against the superstition? I'm not sure really, but anyway, I thought it was a good topic, and I thought that we would have that topic also on the Everything is Attitude show at some point. Al, are you superstitious, Al?
I am not superstitious, I would say overall. I tend to, I think, be aware, right? Be aware of things around you, but superstition can affect you in a negative way if you go too crazy with it, right?
Well, I think, it's a question of, uh, for instance, very typical. If a doctor says to you, you've got 6 months to live, 9 times out of 10, at the end of 6 months, that you give up. That's it. You're done. Unless you're perhaps a stubborn person like me who would say, no, I'm not. No, that's not right. Sometimes things are put into people's minds, and it affects your mind. And then of course, then it affects the entire rest of you. I had a conversation with a doctor many years ago who said to me he was always very careful not to give a time limit to his patients, because they would literally, sort of, it was almost like a prediction. They would literally, at the time, you've got a year to live, and sure enough, they'd live a year, maybe fractionally less or fractionally over, and then they would go. And he was very careful not to say. He would always say, well, in ordinary circumstances, this might sort of see itself through in a certain time period, but if you have the right attitude, here we go again with attitude, Al. If you have the right attitude, and if you have a positive attitude, you can beat the odds. And I do know, and again, through a doctor, a friend of mine, who was discussing a patient who was given 6 months to live, and his attitude was, well, I'm sorry, I'm way too busy. He'd lost his wife. He's got 5 kids to deal with. He said, I can't afford to die. And 25 years later, he was still going strong. His kids were now well grown up, and he beat the cancer with very little treatment. So the power of the mind, I think, is what we're talking about when we're talking about superstition. All right, is there anybody there? I love saying, don't you love saying that? Is there anybody there? I love that. Let's have a question, shall we,
Okay.
Michelle?
This one is from Bailey.
Good morning, Bailey.
It says, morning, Rosemary. I have been seeing orbs in my videos interacting with my dogs playing. I had 2 that died in the house. I think I see them now. Is this possible, or is it a family member?
Without seeing what you're seeing, it would be hard to say, but is it possible? Yes. A lot of people, when you're seeing something or someone or something that is, let's say, otherworldly or beyond this world, we see an aura or an energy field. Sometimes that aura can be like a bright white light, or it can be like a bright yellow light, but we'll very often see the aura. This is why people think they're seeing, that ghosts are white. They come to us in this, eerie white form, but actually what we're actually seeing is the light, the energy field that surrounds a person, which sort of looks to us sort of white and ghostly, which is why we think that when people come to us from the spirit world, that's how they appear. I don't actually see people in that way, because I go above and deeper and connect fully with the person, rather than just connecting with that person's aura. But I know there are a lot of people who feel, that orbs, when you see orbs often in photos, that it's indicative of somebody being there. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. My friend Mary Lou and I went to the beach the other evening. We went actually for the sun, to see the sunset, and I love the after sun much more than I love the sun. I love to see the sunset, but I love the after sun, when the sky gets really red and beautiful and incredible. And she took some photos, sort of one after the other, and she sent me. I said, can you send me those photos? She sent me a photo with this. It looked, when you magnified it, it looked like several tiny, perfect round spheres of bright light all together, sort of like in a stream going across the sky. It wasn't in any of our other photos. She took photos before then and photos after then. It wasn't in any of those. because being a skeptical person, I'm thinking maybe you've got something on the camera that, or maybe something's reflected. So we looked at this and looked at it, and we figured, we don't know what it was, but we figured out that it's got nothing to do with the camera. So were we seeing a UFO? It's possible, who knows? Al, do you have a question?
We do. We have Albertine here.
Good morning, Albertine.
Hello, Rosemary. On YouTube, I saw you in an Italian show where you help people. I watched with appreciation. Are you going to make another big show with an audience?
If I'm invited, once I'm on my feet, which will be at the end of the week, if I'm invited to do a show, I'd love to do a show. I had some people here. I can't exactly call them friends, although we've become friends. They're friends of mine who came to visit on Monday, and they may be figuring something out. But there are, if you sort of go on YouTube and you search me, you'll find there are lots of things like that on YouTube, and TV appearances, the Lisa show, the Larry King show, the Oprah show. There are lots of places where you can see me. But if somebody out there would love to organize an audience for me, I would love to come. So it's all down to all of you guys. Al, sorry, Michelle.
He can go again since he's here only for a little bit if he wants.
No.
Okay. It's Marlies says, Dear Rosemary.
Good morning, Marlies.
Good morning. Can you help my broken heart? I'm scared my date is parting from me. He's a beautiful soul called
Don't worry if you can't pronounce it.
I miss him. I don't know what to do. Thanks so much.
What we'll do, first and foremost, is we'll send you some healing, my love. You know, it's difficult, isn't it? We get into relationships, and we form an attachment with someone. We find, we very much think we found our soulmate, and then it turns out that we haven't, or maybe that person doesn't feel the same way that we do, or for whatever reason we move on. The Buddhists believe, and I think it's a great way to think. The Buddhists believe that, life is sort of like a bit like camping. You sort of go into a field, you take what you need from the field, you stay there for a while, and when it's time, you move on to the next field, and so on. So if you can just think, there will be a next time. I know you don't want to hear it. There will be a next time. There'll be a next time with somebody else. I know you don't want to hear that either. But if you are with someone who doesn't feel the same way as you, as painful as it is and as hurtful as it is, really, you need to move on. Take a step forward and move on. Try and remember that you are valuable, and the people who are with you, who you may love dearly, if they don't think that you're valuable, and by now, if this person doesn't think you're valuable or valuable enough for them, it's time you moved on to find somebody who does think that you're valuable. It's very tough. We're often sort of plagued with self-doubts and self-worth issues and so on, but we are in control of our own destiny so often, in that if we have the right attitude and we believe that we are special, then you put that out into the universe, you send off that energy, you put that energy sort of reflects in your aura, and eventually you will find people around you who value you. Al, let's have another question.
So we have a couple comments. Kay is on with us. She said, Kay, she said, good afternoon, everyone. She's,
I got it. We got it.
So we have Chris here, has a comment and question. Our Chris, I see attraction as a frequency vibration. We are attracted to people and situations. Could you describe attraction as viewed from the universal perspective? Why do we feel attracted to some things?
Well, it's about energy, isn't it? It's, we have a certain energy. We have a certain type of energy. And when we meet people who have a compatible energy. We're back to soul signs here again. When we meet people with a compatible energy, then, you know, we are very often spiritually attracted to that person. But let's not forget the physical as well, because the physical is often, you know, with many of us, especially those who are not so aware of their spiritual, a sense of their spirituality. You know, you see someone is tall, is handsome, is good looking, you think, wow, you know, it's a physical attraction. But then we have to, if we're sensible, it's not all about the physical attraction. We have to pay attention to the person as well. I remember years and years ago, you know, having this guy come into my life. He was tall, really good looking. Obviously, the women were falling all over themselves for him, and for whatever reason, you know, he was attracted to me. I suppose in some ways like energy, and it was, you know, it was a very strong physical attraction. I have to say, it was a bit of one of those wow moments that, if we're lucky, we have in our lives from time to time. But then one day I was on the phone with him, and I was listening to him. He was talking to his sons. He had two sons, young sons, and the way that he spoke to them was such almost aggression. Immediately my attraction withered right there when I heard him speak to his children in an unkind way, shouting at them, impatient with them. And I thought, whatever physical attraction just withered away, just disappeared. Just be careful, you know, when you're physically attracted to a person, it's just about energy, and it's about looks, and it's about, you know, do you like blue eyes or green eyes? It's preference, physical preference. That does not mean that it's a true spiritual connection, or that your energies are compatible. So just be careful that you don't sort of, you know, mix the two, mix them up. Michelle, she's such a young, pretty thing. You must have had instances when you were physically attracted to a person, and then
And they spoke.
then they spoke. You see, there you are, right? And then it's sort of just that you think, oh no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are times when what they say and how they say it, it seems okay until later on, and then it's hard, because then you're invested a little bit, your emotions are invested a little bit, your you know, your needs, your wants, and so on are all invested just a little bit there. But pay attention to how they continue to act and to behave, because if a person, I always feel like this. Okay, I had a really good friend who was great with me and dreadful to her children. She was not a nice mother. She was aggressive. She was impatient. She would hit them for the slightest thing. And remember, if you have someone who treats their children this way, you know full well that sooner or later, no matter how good they are treating you, it's not going to last. Al, do you want to say anything about that, or shall we move on to another question?
I think we can move on to another question.
Coward. Go on.
Michelle, you want to ask, or you want me to ask? I can ask.
Well, no, you.
Okay.
I gave over to you.
So we have a question from Martin.
Who's in control of this show? It doesn't seem to be me. Oh, it isn't me.
I didn't want to skip Michelle. I think it was her turn. I didn't want to skip her. All right. So we have Marlene, who's taking our class. Hi, everyone. I've always been troubled as to why some children who pass become ghosts. Do they have guardian angels? Can other ghosts keep them from passing through the veil? So I'm not quite sure what she's saying. Maybe she can clarify.
Okay, Marlene. Hold on here. Let me think about this. I don't believe in ghosts. How about that? Let's start with that. I do not believe in ghosts. I do not believe there is such a thing as a ghost. Do I believe that people can come from the spirit world? Yes. Do I believe that some people see them, as I just explained earlier? They see the aura as opposed to seeing the person? Yes. But what I believe is that people from the spirit world, young and old, for whatever reason, try to make themselves known from time to time. And there are lots of stories of children haunting homes and so on and so forth. Sometimes it is possible when someone has unfinished business or they feel that they need to connect with someone here on this earth, that, you know, whether it's a child or whether it's a person. But I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in people in the spirit world. I never call them spirits. I never call them ghosts. Uh, People, they are people. Just because they died doesn't mean they are now spirits. They are spiritual beings, as I am, as Michelle is, as you are, Al. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience, hopefully, for some of us in a spiritual way. But I think that people in the spirit world are just that. They are people. They are understanders. They have had this earth experience. They are earth souls. You have to be back to soul science a little bit there, but they are very, very much people, and that's how I consider them. And when I'm connecting with them, that's how I consider them to be. I never look for wispy bits of things floating around here or there. I never look for ghostly beings. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in people who come to this earth for whatever reason, depending on who and what they experienced, how they passed, and who it is they want to connect with. So I hope that helps, Marlene. Now, yes, who are you? That's almost called you Karen. Sorry, I'm so used to this. Karen isn't here anymore.
Rosemary, there's actually a question about that. Michelle has taken. One of them said, "Where's Carolyn? Is she on vacation?" So,
okay, we did say last week was Carolyn's last week with us. And Michelle has been with us now for a couple of weeks, and she's lovely. She's really lovely. And Carolyn is, I think, at the moment with a daughter and grandchildren somewhere or another. But she moved, so it was too far for her to travel. So she, so we lost her. But there we go. We've now got Michelle. Michelle, would you like to ask another question?
Yes. Mary has a comment with a question. It says, my parents' funeral was 2 weeks ago. Can you please ask Grey Eagle if mom and dad have any advice for their children?
Give me the first part again. Her parents' what?
Her parents' funeral was 2 weeks ago.
Okay. And she wants to know, does Grey Eagle have any advice
from mom and dad for their children?
Okay. Yes. The first words I hear are impossible. It's impossible for you. So the first words I hear is, don't be sad. Well, of course you're going to be sad. I mean, this, it's impossible for me to tell you that and for you to listen. But that is the message, which I think is coming from your parents, that they are together. Don't be sad. And I think what they really mean is live your life knowing that they are with you. Live your life absolutely knowing that they had their life. It's your turn now. And as with many parents, and I'm checking with Grey Eagle here, as with many parents, they want you to live better lives. They want you to have better circumstances. They want you to live your lives thinking of them, but also doing what you feel you want to do. Do not hold on to the negative memories. Take those positive memories and go with them and make your life the best way that you can. I'm checking with Grey Eagle again, and I'm hearing them say, we love you all very much. Move forward. Move forward. There you have it. I'm so sorry for your loss, but try and know that they are with you. So let's have another question. Al?
I do have to jump after this, Rosemary, but we have...
That's fine. Are you saying that now we're on our own? I think Michelle can manage this, don't you? Yeah, I think
I
so.
think she'll be great. Yes.
It's good.
We have Anna, actually Kay's daughter. Anna is on.
Good morning, my
She
darling.
says, I'm sorry, I got someone using an ice machine in the background there. Sorry. As she says hi from Anna in the UK. She loves the reminder that the power of the positive mind. She thinks that's awesome. Marlene has a comment. She said, "Wow, Rosemary, 2 ankles at one time. That takes talent. Sending healing that you get back on your feet again soon."
Can I just say that I am such a talented person? So whatever I do, I'm going to do it well. So yeah, can you imagine both ankles anyway? But I do have Michelle here to wait on me. And I have a friend yesterday brought me dinner. So hey, I'm okay. I'm fine. Um, but if I can just say, Anna, I love you, my darling, and I think you might be with your mom, and if you are, to both of you, and I'm going to call you later. I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you yesterday, Kay. I'll call you later. Anyway, and Al, thank you. We know it was difficult for you. We're going to let you go. Al's driving
Thank you.
from New York to Colorado tomorrow, so stay safe.
Yes.
And I'll talk to you later, Al. Anyway, so
Yes. Take
okay,
care.
bye.
Bye.
Michelle, okay, you're on your own, kiddo. Let's go.
Okay. Sharon has a comment, and it says superstitions harken back to olden times where they blamed bad things on evil humors. Looking for reasons real or imagined, I stepped on many cracks which never broke my mother's back. LOL.
Thank you for that. Well, a lot of superstitions come from actually, real events. And my friend and I, we're going to actually do a bit of research, and we're going to find out a lot of these superstitions. We're going to see if we can find out the derivation, or the origins, at least. Anyway, I shouldn't say the derivations, the origins of the superstitions, because I'm finding myself, now we've been talking about it, I'm finding myself rather curious. To me, don't walk under a ladder, it's bad luck, makes perfect sense to me, because if you've got a workman sitting on the ladder, the hammer could fall, or the paint pot could fall, or what have you. It makes perfect sense. Don't stir your food, you stir with a knife, you're stirring in trouble. I'm not quite sure where that comes from, but lots of different things. And but in certain parts of China, when I was in China, uh, I've been several times, but a few years ago, um, many of the older people believed that they would not allow you to take their photograph, and in fact, if they saw you with a camera, they would either hide, or if they were in the rice fields, they'd pull their bonnets down so that you couldn't see them. Their big straw hats that they wear, or they would come screaming at you with their fist, whatever. But it was very important to them that you wouldn't take a photo of them, because they do believe, or did believe anyway, that if you took a photo of them, then that you were taking their soul away. And I'm not sure, again, many different cultures have many different superstitions, and I'm curious about it, because I think that some of them come from good sensible places, like the ladder, don't walk under the ladder, and some, I'm just curious. But thank you for that. And keep watching, because I think that we probably will have a show, probably on the Everything is Attitude show, where if anybody wants to be on there, by the way, you don't have to be on camera necessarily, but if you have a topic that you'd like to talk about, or if you have something that you've gone through where your attitude either made it worse, your issue worse or better, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have you on the show. Or just send us an email, rosemary@rosemaryalte.com, about any subject that you'd like to hear us talking about on the Everything is Attitude show, which is Friday nights, Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock. So another question, shall we?
Well, we have another comment.
I love, keep the comments coming, because I love it when you comment. It's really nice. It shows I like interacting with my audience. So when you comment, it's like the interaction that we crave, don't we? Let's have another comment then.
All right, Danielle says,
good morning, Danielle.
I've always suppressed my emotions since I was a little girl. I felt a strong sadness based on my upbringing and surroundings. Now in my adulthood, it's more because I have to be strong for my family.
I'm glad that you asked this, that you made this comment. I'm really glad because I did want to talk about this because there are so many people who suppress their emotions. Now, as a healer going into people's homes, people's houses, so on and so forth, over the many years, the amount of times that I would have a patient who would, let's say, a patient who was dying, and they would show their emotions to me, but never to their families. To their families, it'd always be strong and almost to the point of denying the fact that they were dying. And the family, in turn, would therefore not show their emotions because they didn't want to upset the patient. So you've got the patient striving to stay strong for the family, and you've got the family striving to stay strong for the patient. And whenever I went in to with a patient, I would always try to draw the family in with me as well. And the one thing that we would talk about, that I would help them to talk about, was how they were feeling about, the fact that somebody was dying. How I'd talk about memories. I'd encourage them to express their emotions. While you're busy being strong for somebody else, what happens is you're forcing them in a way, not intentionally, of course, by any means, but you're forcing them to be strong for you. When you cry, when you show your emotions, when you share your emotions, you give that other person or those other people permission. You give them permission to cry, and you give them permission to share their emotions as well. What happens when we suppress our emotions, and darling, I know from what you just told me that it's, you can't always do it, and it can break you, it can toughen you. You try to build a wall around yourself. People who try to repress their emotions because they're, whatever, they're afraid to look weak. Real men don't cry. What a nonsense that is, because real men do, in fact, cry. But, sort of, when you grow up, particularly in areas, mining areas, the Welsh, the Yorkshire men who, had to go into the mine, their fathers, their grandfathers, their forebears, real men don't cry. Men don't cry. You've got to be tough. You've got to be strong. And so we, many times we build a wall around ourselves, and we hide ourselves and our emotions inside that wall. And what happens is, if we keep the wall up, nobody ever gets to know who we really are, and we become lonely, and we become more hurt, and we become more and more emotional, and we don't know what to do with our emotions. And what I try to do with people who come to me in these circumstances is, I try to help them to take the wall down brick by brick. Sometimes I knock it down, but brick by brick, take it down. So my advice to anyone who thinks for 1 second that holding their emotions in check in these circumstances, you're doing yourselves emotional damage, and you're also doing damage, to your children. If your children always see you as stoic and strong, people say to me, I've never seen my mother cry. She was crying the other day, and it's the first time in 30 years I've ever seen her cry. That's, how sad is that? My daughter's seen me weeping all over the place, and I've seen my daughter weeping all over the place because I encourage it. I had a student who I know is struggling with one of our exercises because, she doesn't want to be more sensitive than she is, or she doesn't want to show her sensitivity because she's always what she thinks, she's always protected herself, but she's not protected herself. She's hidden away. So consequently, her family don't know her, her friends don't know her. How can people know you if you're not going to express how you're feeling and how you're thinking? And if you go to a funeral and you're blubbering all over the place, good for you, because that means that you're a loving and a caring and a gentle person and a generous person, and you have all these wonderful emotions. Don't be afraid, any one of you, please don't be afraid to cry, but do understand that while you're trying to protect your family or your friends or whoever it is you're trying to protect, as well as protecting yourself. When you're trying to protect other people by thinking that it's your job to stay, you've got to stay strong. Um, what you're doing is you're denying them the permission to cry. You're denying them permission to share their emotions, and they'll learn to do just what you're doing. And they'll grow up with all these, crazy notions of, you know, it. We should keep our emotions. We've got to be strong for everybody else. Being strong for other people means being able to put your arms around someone and crying with them in their emotions. I've done that many times with my patients. I've done it many times with my friends. I did it yesterday with a friend. I held her and she cried, and I had a few sniffles as well. And she knows that I care. And I know that she cares about her situation. I gave her permission and to just let go. So please, 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 all of you out there who think you're being strong for everybody else, don't do it. Give your friends, your family, your children, whoever it is, give them permission to cry by being vulnerable yourself and letting them see that. That's another question, shall we? Or
We
a
have
comment
another
or
comment from
anything?
Starshine.
Okay, good morning, Starshine.
She says, I suppressed my emotions for years. The only thing that it did for me was turn me into an angry, bitter young woman, going through life like a tornado, till I ran out of steam, and then I found the eagle in the rose.
Oh, lovely. And for those of you who don't know, you are so sweet. Thank you for that. For those of you who don't know, is it on the table? There it is. Look in paperback. See it over there? For those of you who don't know, this is my first book. Please, if you don't understand what it's like to communicate, if you talk of ghosts instead of people, if you want to know more about the spirit world and how it works, if you need anything at all, I know I wrote this book. I know I shouldn't say it, but it was inspired by the spirit world. Please read The Eagle and the Rose, because it will give you the strength, the knowledge, and the courage to be who you want to be. Starshine, you're lovely. Thank you. And talking of which, again, with The Eagle and the Rose, it's been in print now for 20 something, 23 years almost, which tells you how old I am, my goodness. And it was a New York Times bestseller. It is now known as a classic. I'm showing you it in paperback form. If you want it, email us, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. I don't think we charge that much. I think it's about $7 or $8 or something plus postage. I'm not, I think anyway, I'm not totally sure, but that's it. We are working on getting it in ebook form. We're halfway through, and we'll let you know when it's in ebook form. But this is, if I can just say this, I read ebooks all the time. I'm a big Kindle fan. My daughter bought me a Kindle, and I take it with me wherever I go. I don't think there's a day goes by when I don't pick it up and read. I love ebooks. I love the easy thing, but sometimes, just sometimes, you just need a book in your hand, and this is one of those. You just need a book in your hand. You know, take it to the beach or wherever, read it on a plane or whatever it is. But my advice to everyone on this planet is, and I know it's my book, but it's an extremely powerful, powerful book, and it will explain to you exactly how the spirit world works, and that's as much publicity as I'm doing. And I have other books which I've not talked about, but this, to me, if you haven't read anything of mine, do read this. If you've read it, read it again. It will inspire you tremendously, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you, Starshine, for that. Let's have another question, shall we?
Sharon has another comment. She said, nobody needs to suppress emotions for their family. They learn more from you when you show your emotions. As the song goes, let it go.
Let it go. What is that song? I'm trying
Frozen.
to Frozen.
Frozen.
Oh, I don't want to disturb my fans when I say I can't stand the movie Frozen, but I can't stand a lot of the stuff. To be fair, I've never watched it. However, I have watched loads and loads. I love Disney, so it's not particularly, that I don't dislike Disney, but I don't know why girls go crazy for Frozen, but at the same time, they seem to do that. So I'm shutting up now about Frozen. Anyway, let it go,
Female
whatever it
empowerment.
is. Please, please let your emotions show. That's what I would say. Let it go and let your emotions show. Let's have another question.
Wanda says that she would love to have you come to the big sky country of Montana.
Is that Wanda? Wanda?
Yes.
Wanda. I don't think I've ever been to Montana. It is one of those places that I'd love to go because I'm told that the mountains are huge and amazing. I'm told that the country is, that part of the country is huge and amazing. Um, don't tell me that you'd love me to go. Do something about it, my darling. Organize it, get it planned, get it sorted out, and I will come. Yes. Next question. Do we have a question in here, or we got? I mean, I love the comments. I do love the comments, but it would be nice to have one or two questions too.
Very good. Hamilton says,
Good morning, Hamilton.
"Hi, Rosemary. Will I ever get married?"
Well, do you want to? And so if you want to get married and you behave yourself and you start acting like a grown up, and you can't. Here's the thing with this question: please don't sit on your bum in your house on your computer. I'm not suggesting that you do that necessarily, but I'm saying, if you want to get married or if you want a relationship, then then get out and about, join organizations, go find people of like mind. There are lots of places where you go read. There's a group in Venice. You go and meet them on the beach, and they bring a book with them, and you choose a book, or somebody reads a chapter from a book. Or you can go running or jogging, or you can join the theatre. And even if you can't act or you don't want to be on the stage, you can always get a brush on some canvas. Even if you can't paint beautifully, paint that canvas black. Come on, you could do that, right? So if you get out and about and it's what you want, then yes, but do not expect someone to come knocking on the door and say, here I am, because it's not going to happen. And if you don't do something for yourself and get yourself out there, nothing will happen. You will not meet anybody. Let's have another question.
Wanda says it's beautiful. Here, I will start organizing now.
Yay!
Heart, heart, heart.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Good.
Mary says,
Good morning, Mary.
God bless and be with you, Rosemary. I'm sad because you are in pain. Dear Jesus, please keep Rosemary. Please be with Rosemary and keep her
Oh.
safe, happy, and healthy.
Thank you. Well, as most of you who know me know, that Jesus is my savior, and he taught me all about gentleness and love and healing. And just for the record, I'm not so much in pain because I took a lot of pain pills this morning, so they might wear off in a bit, but I'm all right now. So thank you for that, and thank you for those lovely blessings and those lovely prayers. But there are far more deserving people out there who need. So please join our Hands Around the World Healing Minute, 11 a.m. every morning, wherever in the world you are, 11 a.m. your time, and send out those healing prayers. Thank you, darling, for that.
Kay is on, and Kay said, I saw orbs bright blue in my room at night. I knew they were there to warn me.
Oh, all right then. About, does she say? Apparently not. Okay, then moving on to the next question.
Okay. I have a question.
Oh, do we allow the I guess we do. Go ahead, Michelle. Now you have to understand that Michelle has been here. You were here last week with Carolyn, right?
And here, this is my third week with you.
All right then. And she hasn't actually really asked me one question about what I do or how I do it or so on. So this is going to be revelation. So knock yourself out, Michelle. What's your question?
When you grow up in a household where everybody suppresses their feelings,
Yeah.
how do you learn as you get older to release your suppressed feelings?
Well, if you're lucky, if you're lucky, you meet, you have friends, you have relations, or if you are a particularly sensitive person, sometimes you just can't help but release your emotions. I grew up in a household where the only emotion anybody really ever showed was anger. Nobody showed the emotion of gentleness, certainly not. That was a weakness. Nobody showed the emotion of kindness because I don't think it ever occurred to them. Grey Eagle and the Apache, particularly, have a saying, or maybe it's in the Native American culture. I shouldn't dismiss, just say it's the Apache, but the Native Americans believe, the Apache certainly believe in your own house, walk softly and speak gently. So, however aggressive or tough you might have to be out in that world out there, in your own house, walk softly, tread softly, and speak gently. So, in my household, I was considered the wimp, the crybaby. It was always, always. We had a word in it's hurt my. They had a word in the middle of England. I'm not sure everybody in England knows this phrase, but if you were called Mardy, that's Mardy. If you were called Mardy, that meant you were one of those people who were always crying and crying for no reason, so on and so forth. And Mardy Bum was a bit of an insult, but lots of kids were called Mardy Bums because if you were crying, they would say, "Stop crying, you Mardy Bum." That's a weird way to put it. But because of my sensitivity, growing up in a household where people were truly insensitive, it was they tried to knock it out of me. Good smack across the head, a backhander sent me down the hallway on many, many occasions, not just once in a while, but and people growing up in those households, it's very, very difficult because you're taught that, and some of us never actually get over that. But there are those of us who meet people who can help them, or we read a book, and so we learn that it's okay to be different, or we're lucky enough to meet someone who is tremendously affectionate and they guide us and steer us, and we learn to be affectionate through them. I'm trying to think how I learned to express my emotions, because as a child, if I cried in the night, or if I heard anything go bump in the night or anything, I mean, I would not dare to shout out, because I would get a beating, or get the least I'd get was a good smack across the head. Um, but I think as I was very fortunate then that I had a church that I used to go to, and my church, the people who ran that church were just wonderful people, and they taught me through their example. They taught me kindness, they taught me gentleness. Of course, all that suppression, they didn't get rid of all of that, but they gave me examples of how it could be, and how I could be, and how I needed to be. And as you're growing up, I think, in a household, Michelle, sort of where people don't show their emotions, I think as a child, it's not right, don't you think? You
Absolutely.
do. You feel that it's not right. You know it's not right. You feel hurt, and so on. And if you're lucky, you remember those feelings as you grow up, and you just learn to. I remember looking at my mother once where she was screaming at me, and I remember looking in her face and worrying that I might look like her. I remember running up the stairs, looking in the mirror, thinking, you know, do I look like a witch, because she looked like the Wicked Witch of the North screaming at me. And I remember very distinctly thinking to myself, and I might have been, I don't know, 10, 11 or something. I remember thinking, I do not want ever to look like that. I don't want to be like that. So, I think if you just allow yourself to be who you want to be rather than who you were taught to be in that regard. I teach my daughter gentleness. I teach my grandson gentleness. We have lots and lots of fun, and I don't suppress. I don't suppress anything. What you what you see is what you get. I don't know if I answered your question there, but how do you learn?
No,
You
you
just
did.
you learn by the things you see around you. When you see a mother gentle with its child, you know that's right. You think, I want to be more like that, and you strive to be more like that. And it's not about what people tell you should be or how people tell you and what the words that they use. It's about what you see. Children do not learn through what you tell them, they learn from your example. So, I don't know if I answered your question or not. Do we have another question here?
We have a couple more little comments.
Okay.
Starshine said, "Thank you, Rosemary and Gray Eagle." Wanda said, "This book has changed my life."
Oh, golly. Does she mean the Eagle and the Rose?
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
And
Everyone should have one of those, don't you think? Everyone should read the Eagle and the Rose.
I think so. And Starshine said, "And mine too."
Well, good. I'm glad.
Wanda said that it's beautiful here and she's going to start organizing now, heart, heart.
That's so funny.
And
Any more questions? Or are we it?
we only have some more comments. Hamilton
go
said,
for it.
"Thank
Yes.
you for your answer, Rosemary. I want to buy your book, The Eagle and the Rose."
This is what I want. I want from you, Hamilton. This is what I want from you. I want to hear from you that you really, really did get yourself up and out there, as shy or as embarrassed or as difficult or as lacking in self-worth as you might be at the moment. You can do it, and you can be whatever it is you decide to be. So I want to hear from you that you're doing well and that you're having a great life, and please let me know when you meet that special someone. Any other comments that we have?
And then there was one more from Hamilton that says, "How did you know that I spend a lot of time before my computer? I trade euro dollar daily."
Maybe I'm psychic. It could be that I'm psychic. It could be probably more so that Grey Eagle is helping and guiding me as we're talking here. So then this is why I said to you, please don't do that. I mean, if you have to do it for work, yes, but learn to say, no, I'm not going to do this. And I'm going to, as tired as you might be, as exhausted as you might be. And this is not just for you, Hamilton, it's for everybody out there who is lonely or who feels the need for something that they're not getting in their life. As tired as you might be, as exhausted as you might be, as difficult as it might be to get yourself off your bum and off that chair and out that door. And I know, because I'm talking from personal experience about this, it's so much easier sometimes. You get settled at home, you think, oh, had a rough day, I'm just going to relax. Please don't do it. Life is out there. You've got to go out and chase it. And that's it. Are we? So we're done, and actually it's perfect timing. So we do hope that you enjoyed the show this morning, and we got big hurrahs for who are you? No, I'm just kidding. For Michelle, her very first time on her own doing this, and that's really, really great. And I think she did really well. And it would be really nice for you to all send her an email saying that she did really well. Rosemary Altea, if you need anything, if you need any help or guidance, please email me, rosemary@rosemaryalte.com, if you want to know where you can get my books. The new book is A Walk in the Clouds. You can find that if you go to lulu.com/Rosemary Altea. You can find it. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on social media. Michelle knows all about that stuff. She knows more about it than I do. So we're going to be, over the next few weeks, we're going to be really building that side of things up. So you'll hear from me more and more and more. This could be a really exciting time. And it looks like might be going to Montana. You never know, do you? And anywhere else, if any of you feel that you'd like me to visit your area and you want to organize it, I'm afraid it does mean you do have to pay my expenses to get there, because I'm not going to be, you know, it is what it is, right? So please, feel free to write to me. And if you want to organize, or if you've got an idea for anything that you'd like for us to do next, let's go for it. If you want to know more about my online classes, you can, again, email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com, or you can email info, what is it now? Never mind, just email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com. That works for me. And until I see you again next week, or maybe tomorrow, if you join us for Everything is Attitude tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I'm on with Al Pisano. Wherever it is you want to find me, I shall be there. Check for me on Instagram. Join, follow, do all of that stuff. And until I see you again, you know what I'm going to say to you, don't you? Please, 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 all of you there. And I have to find the little arrow now. Please, please, please have a very, there we are. Have a very, very, very blessed day, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.